Nobody can do it like me. Nobody.
Nobody's stronger than me.
Nobody has better toys than I do.
Nobody knows the game better than I do.
I'm stoked Trump won.
But think about how important cybersecurity is now.
It's like one of the most important things.
Where is inflation going to end?
It's better that he lost those 4 years.
Move slowly in the economy. You know, you don't see the effects of these things for years and years down the road.
Make America great again.
Hey, what's going on, Cash Flow Hackers? It's Chris with Life 180, and I am here with Daniel Romberg. And, we were just talking. I thought it would be fun to talk about what's going on now that the election just happened. We're sitting here, what is it, November 8th?
Right after the same
election
week.
happened like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And so obviously it's at the forefront of everybody's mind. I did a video the day before the election with John Wolfenbarger from Bull and Bear Profits.
Yeah, that was cool.
We were talking about that, and we did it live, which was really fun. And it was fun to watch the chats, man. People go nuts, man. Like,
yeah,
they're crazy. But let's talk about kind of Trump won,
right?
Which is cool.
Yep, we're aware that he's the president.
It's cool, and it's also like not cool for us. Like it's funny because like personally, I'm stoked Trump won.
Okay,
that's just me.
Yeah.
And that is not a endorsement of him as a human being, right? Like in his character as a person, but like from like when we were comparing the candidates together, my personal opinion is I think he's going to be better for the country long term. That said, for us with what we do and our solutions,
yeah.
Honestly, Kamala Harris would have been better because, you're talking the higher taxes and, all the things that would, that she would be bringing to the table. It would make the value of the services that we offer and the products that we offer would be better. But regardless,
yeah,
we have a lot, going on now as far as like, all right, what's it look like with the transition of power? What's it look like with going back into this world where I think it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates back in. How's he going to handle foreign policy? How's he going to handle energy? How's he going to handle taxes? Tariffs,
trade. I mean,
all these things.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at. I think I'm always a big believer in, obviously the current president's going to put policies in place that are going to impact the economy.
Yeah.
But things move slowly in the economy. You don't see the effects of these things for years and years down the road. So what I'm focused on right now, what I'm most excited about is what are the opportunities right now that I see that are coming up and what's going to continue happening. We have the Fed saying they're going to continue to cut rates, which will be an interesting opportunity, and we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
So for me personally, like as a personal investor, I'm excited about real estate.
Yep.
I'm excited about what's happening with Tesla and what they're doing with this fleet of taxis. Did you see the autonomy event?
The autonomous. Yeah, kind of cool.
Cool.
Tesla's going nuts right now.
It's crazy. Yeah, they had a huge boost. But I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see where we move in terms of technology. And what opportunities are now created from that. So, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that you're going to be able to flip a switch in your Tesla and it's going to go out and make you money at night.
Yeah.
But if that happens, that's kind of a crazy innovation. I mean, think about what a disruptor that is for so many. I mean, think about Uber. Like, there's a lot of, maybe if you're an Uber driver, you're not excited because that's kind of scary.
I'm good friends with a guy who has worked with 3-letter agencies and is like super hacker kind of guy, right? One of the smartest guys I know. And his comment to me on Tesla, kind of off the record, was Tesla is going to be the best company to invest in. And this is not me giving investment advice, by the way, but like just sharing conversations, right?
Conversation with you.
He thinks Tesla is going to be the best investment opportunity potentially of our lifetime, not because of the electric car world, but because of their autonomous driving technology and because of their robotics. Wow. He believes that he said things, and I know nothing about this, by the way. Like, I'm just going off of this conversation with him.
Yeah.
I don't own any Tesla stock, just for the record, for anybody that, thinks I'm going this direction. But like, I don't own any Tesla stock. But he said he thinks they're their play in the robotics long term is actually going to be stronger than the electric cars.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and think about the companies that are like the big companies now, right? Like it used to all just be like oil and big manufacturers and things like that.
Yeah.
But think about how important cybersecurity is now.
It's like one of the most important things.
You could make an argument that cybersecurity is really going to be at the forefront of what we need.
It's the core foundation of every significant company.
Right.
Like if you don't have good security, then you're nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
And with all this autonomous driving, with all the hacking, with everything that goes on, I mean, that's going to be a really important thing to be mindful of.
100%.
In terms of,
100%.
Good quality companies going forward.
Yeah.
And yeah, none of this is investment advice, but I just get excited when I think about, I think there would have been opportunities under either candidate. I
Totally.
think, for sure. I mean, I'm a kind of person who doesn't look to the president to say whether I'm doomed or not, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, hey, I'm going to make opportunities and go give and produce and be a contributing member of society either way. I just look at what are now the immediate, like just like I would have done if Kamala had won, I would have looked at what are the immediate opportunities that I could take advantage of now. And so I see interest rates. Obviously, Trump's been pretty vocal about wanting to lower interest rates and be a part of that. So I think that could create some big economic boost.
I think the challenge is this, and John, when I interviewed him, like he said it great, is like I think a lot of the results that we're going to be seeing are already baked into the cake,
Yeah.
And
That's well said.
Trump may get a lot of the blame for it, or he may get a lot of the accolades for however it goes. But like you said, everything takes so much time to actually play out in the economy. There's very little he can do in a short term to impact it. They may be able to be reactive in policy and change the consumer sentiment, which will change the needle. But when we're talking about actual, real, productive, long-term output and investment opportunities, we can create manufacture ways to make money kind of here and there.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about long-term investing, it's a whole different animal.
Totally. 100%. This is what I've been wondering, thinking about that. Do you think with 4, because he only has 4 years and then that's it. Do you think he's going to go like very intense with his like things he wants to try to leave his mark on America and try to help with? Yeah. Or do you think he's going to try to go the other way and be a little bit more diplomatic and try to go align with some, like, because when he first got into office, he was working with Chuck Schumer, he was working with Nancy, and it was the Republicans were like, hey, we don't do that. Like, you need to, and so, it's interesting to me to see, is he going to kind of continue like where he left off? Is he going to kind of, with a lot of executive orders and a lot of big change, or is he going to try to, I don't know. I mean, that's what I've been thinking about this whole week.
I think he's already shown a propensity to work with people that he doesn't necessarily see eye to eye with, right? Whether it's Putin or whether it's, Chuck Schumer or whether like whoever it is, right? Yeah. He's willing to have these conversations and work with people. He leads through strength. Not everybody agrees with, how he goes about it or how he shows up in that process. I think the whole tariffs thing could be an ugly situation, or it could be a leveraging, bargaining chip. And I think, a lot of people are like, oh, he's already implemented tariffs. Okay, that's fair. He has. And that could also be part of the negotiating tactic, right? Like if on a scale of tariffs, there's small tariffs that won't have like a massive ripple effect in the economy, but at least they kind of plant the flag being like, I'm willing to do this just in principle. And then being able to say, hey, I'm willing to do this. And they can look at it and say, oh, I'm willing to. And he's running on this platform and, he's using it as a bargaining chip. I hope that's the case. Yeah. I don't know. If he does them all, it could be detrimental to the economy. Him and his oil, his drilling, his fracking. The U.S. has more oil and energy underneath our soil than any other country in the world. And what would that look like if we unleash that as a nation? It's potentially deflationary in a sense, because imagine if the cost of oil goes down 60, 70%, and now, people aren't spending as much. that puts more money into people's pockets. So on a surface level, it's deflationary, but if it's putting more money in our pockets and it's making it so businesses don't have to spend as much money to distribute their goods, trucking it across the country and doing all these different things, and to operate their business, it's cheaper and all these things. So it puts more money in business owners' pockets to reinvest into the organizations, hire new people. So the net of it, is it inflationary, deflationary? Like, what is it good for the economy? Like, I think overall, you can't look at cheaper energy ever as a net negative. I think it's a net positive because it allows more of our capital to go towards productivity versus consumption.
Right. That makes total sense. It's hard for me to measure because, Trump had COVID during like the last year of his presidency, which, global pandemic, either administration would have probably had significant challenges managing that.
Yep.
So it's hard to know really kind of the economic effects because they did print so much money that last year that there was a big amount injected into the money supply.
He got blamed for it all.
Yeah, and it's hard to know what impact that had and how it's going to go. The thing I wonder is like, where is inflation going to be at the end of the 4 years, right? If the tariffs go in place, that's a big thing I've been thinking about too, is like, where is inflation going to end?
So I've been saying before Trump got elected, I think we're going to see an inflationary bounce.
Meaning like a spike, like we're going to see more?
Yeah, I think they're reducing rates right now, and
it's a mistake.
I think it's a mistake. And I think it's like anything else. Remember when inflation got bad, everybody was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And then they're like, oh crap, it's a crisis.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way it works, right? Like it's the way the economy works. That's the way these Fed Reserve people function. It's the way politicians
I just saw something that there's over $1 trillion of credit card debt, personal credit card debt in the U.S.
Yeah.
That's insane. $1 trillion.
It's nuts. Listen, federal debt is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
At 36 trillion-ish.
Yep.
Our annual deficit is at an all-time high. We have 200 trillion of unfunded liabilities, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all that stuff.
Yep. More defense.
Our personal household consumer debt is at an all-time high. Credit card debt, all-time high. Mortgage debt, all-time high. Auto loan, all-time high. Student loan debt, all-time high. Everything is at an all-time high. And so the challenge is, as interest rates have gone up, that's put a lot of stress on the economy, right? That's put a lot of stress on people's cash flow, in households. And that's why credit card debts are going up, because people haven't really scaled back.
Change
They
your
just put it on a credit card. And in a world where interest rates are going up, now that debt becomes more expensive, and it's financial handcuffs. It's.
I think that's why Trump won by such a big victory. Was so many Americans were like, look, it's just more expensive under this last administration, and it's hard to get by. So I think a lot of families voted based on just that. It was like, hey, we want to see if we can get a shot at some cheaper prices and make it so groceries aren't like a struggle. And
I would say this is they get the Biden administration gets blamed a lot for that. And listen, I'm no fan of Biden or Harris. I'm pretty out there about how I feel about all that. But I think in this instance, they can't be blamed for it all, right? It's the monetary policy and the economy. Yeah. That's they've done some things and they got some policies that I don't agree with. But I don't think those policies that they're doing, you said it earlier, it takes time for these things to play out. Those things don't impact the economy that fast. But the inflation, the pandemic spending, the money that they just printed and injected into the money. The challenge is with COVID, and this is nothing new, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but the challenge is, most of the time, they've been printing money, doing quantitative easing for 15 years, and just injecting money into the markets. Yeah. That's one thing when you do it and you put it in the banks on the balance sheets for financial stability across, the economy. But when you print money and just send a check to every American, that's direct inflation. Yeah. People just spend it, and it goes into the economy. And very few Americans did responsible behavior, executed responsibly with their stimulus checks, right? You know what I'm saying?
Responsible behavior, yeah. Yeah.
So that just is what it is. And so it'll be interesting to see moving forward how he handles his next term. I think my hope is that he learns from his mistakes in the first term. I think he is a big man in the sense that he acknowledges he made some mistakes, and he's looking to surround himself with different people. I think it's him missing that term, as much as like the people who are like the uber, Trump supporters that think the election was rigged and all this stuff, whether it was or wasn't, that's not the point, right? I think the fact that he's now back in office, it's better that he lost those 4 years and came back, because I think he learned a lot in that process. I think he's grown a lot. I think it's changed him as a person, his perspectives, his family, his supporting team. Like, everybody has gotten a lot more perspective, and it's given time for them to see like how have their policies played out over that long run, and they can see the good, the bad, the ugly, and go from there. But at the end of the day, I still think we are going into a tough time. Like, and my personal belief, and listen, I don't know.
Sure.
Right? But my personal belief on what I'm planning on is that it's going to get hard. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Peter Schiff always says, you don't get a heroin addict who has, been taking heroin to feel good. You don't get off the heroin without withdrawal pain. We had stimulus money printed. It makes no sense. If you think about our economy is 80% consumption and 20% production. That is the breakdown.
Yeah.
Okay? You can't do that.
Yeah.
long term, right? And so when you think about it, we've been living on cheap money in the lowest interest rate environment long term that we've ever seen up until they, spiked it back up. And even where we are right now, people are freaking out about interest rates being high. They're still below long-term averages.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, long-term historical averages for the federal funds rate is over 5.5%. Think about that. So we are now, I think, under 4 or under 5. I think it's like in the 4.5 to 4.75 range now that he just dropped it.
Just dropped it, yeah.
And so we're at below long-term average rates, and everybody's like, rates are so high.
Right.
And I'm watching articles and reading articles about how high it, I'm like, what the is wrong with people?
Yeah.
Like, the lack of education and awareness about how things actually are from a historical perspective is kind of mind-numbing, and people just buy into the media narrative,
Well, and also, too, I mean, you do have like 20 years there where we were in a declining interest rate environment, so people just kind of got used to
40 years almost.
Yeah.
30 years and then flat. Yeah.
But I mean 20 years where it got below the Fed funds rate, and it went down.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of like we haven't had a lot of track record. I mean, first-time home buyers, millennials, they don't know. They're not used to higher rate. They've never
I guess
seen
not
it.
everybody's a nerd like me and studies.
Not everybody is the economist, but
right.
What do you think about, and look, my family and I, we pray for every president. We want every president to be a great leader and a great ambassador of America,
sure.
and that's what we're going to continue to do. But, at the same time, I think about AI. What would you be doing right now if you were in a position where you were worried about AI replacing your job in the next 5 years?
I would build my skills and develop myself into somebody that was insulated against the development of AI. I think either learn how to utilize AI and become really proficient with AI, or put yourself in a position where you're not replaceable. I look at what we do,
Yeah. How do you think it's going to impact our space, right?
I don't think it's going to, I think there's different levels to our space, right? Like, I think there's the term insurance world, right? I think the term insurance, like the select quotes, or the, the instant
ladder,
instant issue, term quotes or whatever.
Right.
I think they're going to utilize a lot of AI. I think where it's going to really impact our industry is underwriting. Is companies utilizing artificial intelligence over a period of time to search and help in the underwriting process. I think that will actually drive costs down, though, because it's going to make underwriters' jobs easier. It's going to get them better information. If you think about, like, the more AI evolves and the more the social media platforms evolve and the more, people, they can integrate the MIB and social media, and like if they can build these AI systems that are designed to be like the ultimate underwriter, they can get to answers so much faster.
Yeah.
We can
much less cost,
much more proficient. That'll drive costs down. That'll make it more attractive. But I think on the other side, like on the sales side or the education side or whatever, you have these companies that are going to be doing these term quotes and like just this instant issue. I'm thinking like companies like Ethos and, the more technologically driven Ladder, Select Quote, stuff like that. Like that, to me, the problem with all those companies is that it's commoditizing the insurance industry, the life insurance industry. And to me, it's like that puts people in a position where they're buying life insurance like they're buying auto insurance. But the reality is you can never sell life insurance like auto insurance. And you never should buy life insurance like auto insurance because you need auto insurance. You need homeowners insurance. It's legally, you have to have it.
Right.
It's a need-based product. Life insurance is a want-based product. And you're never going to get that want-based kind of counseling and coaching and whatever through that process. I think the opportunity to really leverage AI that we're looking at is the high-tech, high-touch concept, right? It's like utilize AI to start the conversation and to trigger engagement with people and really connect with people in the conversation and get them to a conversation with a human being that actually cares and can coach. And we start really connecting with people on their values and beliefs and really more like life coaching than life insurance sales than anything. And
I like
the
that.
life insurance on the back end just happens to be there. But like I always say, people make decisions emotionally and they validate those decisions with logic. I think today I've said that 3 or 4 times already. And and I think you can't pull the emotion out of the process. And I think it's really hard. Like you and I could sit, if you were just a person looking to buy life insurance, you could sit in front of your computer and deal with an AI interface or whatever. And I promise you, it's not going to do what I'm going to do with you.
Right.
Period.
Yeah,
It's
there's
just
no
not-
way.
It's impossible.
There's no connection. There's no
Right.
trust. There's no guidance.
Right.
It's just it's a commodity. It's
And so
like
what do you do for AI? So you asked, what do you do? Is like you either learn how to use AI to increase lead generation, and then you set up systems to increase the personal connection and the touch, or you just don't worry about AI and you build yourself into becoming obsolete to it. You got it's certainly going to make it harder for some people. But I look at everything as it's going to force you to be better. It's going to force you. Yeah, it's just going to force you to elevate your game and to grow, to become who you need to be, to create what you want to create.
What are some things you're doing to prepare for hard times? Like if you think hard times are coming, what would people do to be maybe more?
The basic stuff, like get out of debt, get rid of your consumer debt, high interest credit card debt, try to even pay down car debt even. I think having as much liquid accessible capital as possible. Right now, I look at it as like having cash, there's an opportunity cost that comes with it, or, having money as what we would do in like a life insurance contract, is important, to have. And it's because, first of all, we need to be thinking structurally. I think that's the biggest encouragement to people. What I know is going to happen is I don't know when, right? But we're going to have a pullback from where we are. We've been on the greatest bull run of all time. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, we had the pandemic happen and we had this massive crash and this massive reduction in productive output, right? And we have not gotten back to pre-pandemic levels of productive output. Yet the economy has gone up crazy high.
Yeah,
PE
substantially.
ratios, like company valuations right now, are the highest they've been since the Great Depression.
That's crazy.
So when you look at it that way, so think about that.
Yeah, it's explain to people what a PE ratio is. Like what is PE? And
It's the price to earnings. The PE ratio is the price to earnings ratio. So it's the price of the stock relative to the earnings of the company.
Yeah.
And so usually it's between 15 and 20. The PE ratio is about the price of the stock, right? Is about 20 to 1 is like what it would be, right? And now you're looking at like 40 to 42. It's like double overvalued. Talking to John Wolfenbarger from Bull Bear Profits, Warren Buffett's favorite metric or indicator is the PE ratio mixed with something I can't remember like exactly what it was, but basically, and Goldman Sachs, I actually have a video coming out on this. It'll be out by the time you watch this video. And I'll link it at the end screen here.
Okay.
Goldman Sachs just called for a lost decade in equities.
Whoa,
Think about that.
that's crazy.
Goldman Sachs just called for a lost decade because they're saying that the problems are right now, market concentration is too high, which means that too much of the value in the market is held in too few companies. So
Concentration risk.
concentration risk, right?
That's scary.
So Tesla, Amazon,
Meta.
Nvidia,
Yeah, Nvidia.
Meta,
Yeah, everybody jumped on Nvidia.
right?
Yeah.
Nvidia, like those companies, it's something like 20+% of the entire valuation of the S&P 500 is in 3 companies, 3 or 4 companies.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so if those companies like Tesla right now, we just saw like 40% bump or 30% bump, over the past week.
Right.
That's just driving everything up, and it's there's an asymmetric risk to those companies and the impact that it has. And if they're overinflated, which they are, like Tesla's PE ratio right now is like 78.
Yeah.
It's insane.
That's insane.
Right? And that's pulling numbers up. So concentration risk is high, the PE ratio risks are high. There's different variables that metrics that they're looking at here, but they gave this really interesting article, and it was funny because I'd done a video like 3 or 4 months ago with John from Bull and Bear Profits, and he was like, according to Warren Buffett's metric, the stock market is going to be worth 50% less in 10 years than it is today,
Oh my gosh.
which is scary.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying I agree with that 100%. I'm not saying I'm even smart enough to know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I come through the lens of what's the upside, what's the downside, can I live with the downside? And I always want to make sure I'm prepared. I always want to make sure I'm hedged. I want to make sure that like I'm able to think abundantly. I'm able to think optimistically.
Yeah.
How we plan with our money sets the framework for how we show up in life. Right?
Right.
And if I am reactive and I'm just doing things and I'm not prepared, like I hope I'm wrong. I hope things keep going great and the market keeps going well, because then guess what? If I do, all the assets, all the real estate that I have, all my businesses will keep growing and I'll keep making more money, right? Fantastic.
Yeah.
But I also need to make sure that I have an opportunity fund, and access to that money in case things go down, and I need to make sure that the assets that I do have, I'm not overly leveraged to have them, because then we have a 2008 situation where people, had 15, 16, 20 houses, but they were overly leveraged and then they went down in value, and now you're upside down because you can't afford the cash flow to maintain them, and that compounds the issue.
Right.
Right. And so just make sure that like whatever you're doing, you're not overly leveraged, you're not overly exposed. And I would say if you do feel over leveraged, well, sell your houses, get out of it. Like people ask me, should I sell my real estate? There's no right or wrong answer, right? I think long-term real estate, most of the time, anybody I've ever talked to says the biggest regret they have is selling their real estate.
Yeah. I'd
Right?
never sell another piece of real estate again.
Well, you say that.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
if you were in a situation where things got bad and you didn't think you could cash flow it, well, then you should probably sell it.
Right.
Right?
In that circumstance.
In the circumstance. So you got to understand. But if you wait, and you're like, I don't know, there's always a risk. The risk of not selling it.
But it goes back to that abundance fund. If you're over leveraged and you're in that risk, that's different. If you have an abundance fund to weather those storms,
For sure.
then you're.
But that comes to, this is where I was going though.
liquidity,
Financial structure.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about in the video we just did for your channel.
Yeah.
Where it's like financial structure is everything, because if you are doing it where you don't have that buffer, that opportunity fund, that buffer fund, you're not an investor, you're a speculator.
Right.
Right? When the market goes down, you don't
can't
have the
afford
money
it.
there, you can't afford it, you're going to get burned. And if you're speculating on real estate right now, sell it. If you're investing in real estate and you can weather the storm, if it goes bad, hold on to it. Right?
It's pretty simple.
It's not hard, but there's no, like, people that say there's one right or wrong answer, like, drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are no hard fastened rules in this world of personal finance and investing. It really comes down to you and where you're at in your cycle of investing and saving and building your financial structure, and what your unique investor DNA is, what your unique gifts, skills, and abilities, where your unique weaknesses are. And you got to be really honest about all that.
Yeah.
With yourself and figure it out.
I think it's helpful for people to get kind of a little economic snapshot, or
I think so.
kind of like a little update. So this is cool.
No, it's fun. Hopefully you guys found value in it. Like we're just sitting here having a fun conversation about this stuff. I think it's important. I think we're, I believe we're heading into something that's going to be really challenging. I think Trump is going to speak really optimistically about it from here forward. My true belief is I think sometime in 2025 or 2026, things are going to get really bad. And I also know that the thing that I've become acutely aware of is that the government has an ability like I never anticipated possible to manipulate and kick the can down the road, right? That said, you can only kick it down the road for so long, and eventually we're going to deal with a pullback. We always do. It's not if, it's a matter of when. Timing the when can be hard. So I would say it could be 2 months from now. It could be 2 years from now. It could be, I don't know how long, but it won't be, historically speaking, it won't be more than another, 3 to 5 years. Like that I will say, before we experience something really tough. If history has a habit of repeating itself, which I think it does. And so I would say use this time as an opportunity to build your foundation and to get your house in order, to eliminate consumer debt, build your foundation, save money, keep that money liquid, and get ready for the opportunity. If that means you have to sell your assets to do so because you're speculating right now and you're like, then take the wins off the table right now. Use your speculative gains to say, all right, I won. Now I'm going to take the wins off the table and I'm going to use that to build my foundation. Not to increase my lifestyle, but to build the foundation. Wait for the next cycle, reinvest with that foundation, and now you can build your house on top of it. And that's part of using the different cycles to do it. But if you're an investor and you've actually got a foundation and, you're worried about it coming, well, you're probably smart enough and you don't need my advice, if you've already done that at that point in time anyway. But
which working on the fundamentals is always great. I mean, every 100%, great athlete works
100%,
on fundamentals.
100%.
Yeah.
And for me, like my wife and I, we have, our house in Arizona, and we thought about selling it because the market was way up and whatever. But we decided we didn't need to sell it. We realized the risk. It might go down in value, $300,000, $400,000, which would suck. But if it does, it's not going to change our life. You know what I mean? It's we're still cash flowing it, and it's still fine. So we made the decision. We're just going to hold on to it and ride it out and see what happens. But if I were in a different position, I probably would sell it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's just something to think about. So
you can't sell the OG Life 180 studio.
I know. I know. I got to get back in there sometime. But all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
I know we're running up on time too. So guys, hopefully you found value in this conversation. I think we're going to do more conversations around this kind of topic. Let us know in the comment section below if you, enjoy these kinds of talks regarding this, about the overall economy and the direction and strategy. I'm going to be bringing guests on to talk about this too. I'm really loving bringing on experts and stuff of this nature lately. I love the interview kind of concept. So if you have anybody that you think would be awesome to interview, for me or Daniel on his channel, just let us know in the comment section below, and we'll go from there. So if you found value in this, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff. Go check out Daniel's channel. I'll put a link in the description below for that as well. But thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great.
Awesome, bro.
Awesome.
All right. Until next time, have a blessed, inspirational day. See you soon.